Jim Jones, who once walked through Harlem like a king, is reportedly crying after being given a shocking revelation so absurd and crazy that even Maury Povich would have yelled, "You are not the father." Or, believe me, you are not prepared for this one, that Jim's longtime companion and reality TV writer Chrissy has been in the most scandalous story of the decade. Jim recently learned that it may or may not have been smuggled out of a courtroom by a dishonest intern with a poor Wi-Fi connection. This is the scandal of all scandals, and we're going to dive in audacity because Casey had been hiding a secret child the entire time. Grab some popcorn and saddle up because what I'm about to tell you will make hip-hop and love look like a Disney movie. This is the final nail in the coffin for the Dipset dynasty, and more importantly, the most startling betrayal in hip-hop history to date. How could it even occur in the courtroom that was supposed to discreetly "we fly high" isn't flying at all right now, according to our really reliable sources, as Jim Jones dips at royalty in yet another celebrity drama that suddenly devolves into the most horrifying betrayal Harlem has ever seen. Jim has simply collapsed under the weight of reality, according to questionable sources close to the situation, and by that I mean utterly. The cameras are flashing all the way in right now, and the whispers morph into gasps that he was unable to escape with any amount of street cred or ice swagger. According to reports, the rapper turned businessman is sobbing into his Louis Vuitton scarf after saying, "Chrissy Ellen," which refers to the woman who helped him. Chrissy has gone through label disputes, tours, controversy, and enough reality shows, according to accounts from what can only be called the most raucous court appearance since Cardi B pleaded guilty to tossing shoes at dancers. The woman who practically proposed to Jim on public television in what remains one of VH1's most paused moments, keeping the largest secret not aside, and whose loyalty was supposed to be unrivaled were both utilized to make us appear weak. Portray a questionable LLC or even a burner Instagram account. No, we're discussing an entire child or human being who was purportedly kept hidden from Jim, the public, and probably even the Love and Anime creators. Hip-hop, I know what you're thinking, but trust me when I say that Jim was taken by surprise during his testimony by alarming papers, including purported text message receipts and your Wix's purported paternity report, which was filled with Chrissy's name. According to reports, the janitor who was sweeping outside the courtroom overheard everything. Despite having eyes and ears everywhere, Jim and Chrissy have been the couple of pandemonium from the Harlem block. For those of you too young or living under a rock to recall the dipping set era, let me say that they basically established the blueprint for We're Toxic, but they made it legendary through breakups, cosmetics, and on egg. In what witnesses described as the most vicious courtroom clapback in history, Cameron, better known as Cam, the petty king of hip-hop, gave you the backstory you need to understand how crazy things became. Fans yelled, "Just marry her already," when the man who decided to add fuel to the already raging dumpster fire reached the scene. Drama missed weddings, matching tattoos, and public confrontations. Snuck into the courtroom like a pink mink wearing a Grim Reaper and displayed the receipts on Chrissy's bogus invoice. Because let's face it, if Cameron is in the room, something messy is going to happen. According to reports, Cameron exclaimed, "Betrayal," while wildly removing an envelope as though he were at the Source Awards. The proof that was shown allegedly showed that Chrissy had been surreptitiously seeing another man years before. That relationship is what our unnamed legal source claims will explain why my brother Jim has been pretending to be living in a love tale when, in fact, he was the lead in The Courtroom, a daytime soap opera. Seemed to have exploded as if it were the BET Awards and someone had revealed that Beyonce was expecting a second child. You could hear the repressed sobbing and gasps as Jim's entire career broke like a cheap iPhone screen. Jim wore fashionable sunglasses and said to his lawyer, "I can't believe this," after a poor drop. This isn't just some random nasty rumor that he didn't know existed. His most dependable companion is his ride or die, yet he supposedly kept this kind of terrible secret. To put it simply, it was character assassination in the broadest sense of the word. Daytime, and if you doubt that the courtroom was shaken, consider how rapidly the internet screenshots were released. TikToks, Twitter, hashtags, and phony relationship experts who miraculously gained. There were master's degrees in dipset drama everywhere. And one Twitter user encapsulated Chrissy's secret child perfectly. Jim Jones learning that Chrissy has a secret child is the unexpected narrative twist we needed in 2024. According to reports, James disappeared from public view around season 3 when fans were preoccupied with figuring out timeframes and performing complicated celebrity paternity math. He canceled all engagements. Chrissy was unfollowed on Instagram in 2024, which is equivalent to filing for divorce, and she hasn't responded to any of the posts or comments, and which has only intensified the suspicion since, as any fake news investigator is aware, even Cameron, who is usually the master of dubious Instagram captions, has been subdued. But if history is any guide, I'm sure he's simply stalking the everyone is now wondering how in the world Jim didn't understand what a man does. The judge slapped the gavel down and remarked harshly, "We are adjourned until tomorrow morning until additional evidence, and this is where things become complicated. Witness testimony will be given in front of cameras, and friends and haters will miss a significant secret." Is this the biggest betrayal, or is there more to this narrative than we've been told? The following morning was anything but quiet, and by dawn, the courthouse had transformed into the most exciting carnival in town, packed with reporters, bloggers, TikTok investigators, and everyone else. When Jim Jones came with his legal team and a hoodie, the crowd erupted in stunned conversation as photographers and paparazzi rushed the courthouse steps like untamed animals. Tensions were at an all-time high inside the courthouse. Put on sunglasses, pulled over his head, and had an expression that indicated, "One thing, Chrissy, I did wake up for this." The environment was electrifying, hectic, and definitely messy, just how the internet likes it, and Cameron wasn't there. Showed and stylishly late, wearing a bright pink tracksuit, and emanated what could only be characterized as "I told you so much" energy. The judge urged everyone to keep their calm and issued a warning that no outbursts would be permitted, which seemed pointless given the chaotic, scandalous, and gossipy atmosphere. Then came the next startling revelation, which the prosecution backed up by unnamed sources, apparently including a bitter former friend and a hairdresser who overheard everything, asserted that they had indisputable proof of Chrissy's alleged double life. Exhibit A allegedly includes leaked private text conversations between Chrissy and a man who was only named as Mr. X in court filings, stated that Chrissy and Mr. X had rekindled their previous romance around the time that Jim and Chrissy were supposedly organizing their wedding. The texts were full of mysterious flirtations, talks about private meetings, and the iconic line that made Twitter go crazy, "He can't know not." However, everyone in the courtroom gasped, even Cameron, who raised an eyebrow and declared that Jim reportedly froze, seeming as if he had just been hit by a sledgehammer of betrayal. His attorneys murmured anxiously as the prosecution proceeded to present their alleged mountain of evidence. He appeared to be completely bored and spent much of the morning browsing through his phone. Next came the according to reported bank records. Chrissy was allegedly supporting a child Jim was not aware of by sending large amounts of money every month to a secret trust set up in a minor's name. Conspiracy theorists on TikTok had already caused harm, despite the defense's claim that the money were for charitable donations and private family concerns. In full swing, they looked for odd gaps in Chrissy's Instagram postings, compared hip-hop episodes and ancient love stories, and even compared Mr. X's infant pictures to try and prove similarity. When the circus erupted online, Jim sat quietly without posting any tweets or even in a passive-aggressive attitude. A TikTok post went viral brazenly saying, "Look at that nose, it's genetics, babe." Nevertheless, some admirers began sharing side-by-side images of Jim from the past and present with comments like, "This man has aged 15 years overnight, prayers up." The remarks were awful. More than 2 million views were received in less than 8 hours after he posted a boomerang of himself sipping tea with the remark, Patience is everything. Back in court, however, things were going to make matters worse. The next witness, an old friend of Chrissy's who was shielded by Jane Doe's position, stated that Chrissy had reportedly confided in her years earlier. Jane Doe went on to accuse Chrissy of defending the privacy by declaring, "I couldn't risk him finding out. It would ruin everything about an accident that resulted in a child and how she had no plans to ever tell Jim." Jim allegedly looked up and fixed his face on the ground, fearing that the truth would ruin not just their not only infidelity, but also their lucrative reality TV deals, endorsements, and public image as a couple. The rumors outside the courtroom had developed into a full-fledged media campaign. The baby bombshell that ultimately revealed Jim Jones's darkest secret was followed by storms with tabloids screaming headlines. The memes were vicious. One viral hit used Jim's well-known Fly High video with the caption modified to Weep High, while the public chuckled at another that showed Monis becoming younger. The defense, clearly disturbed, contended that there was no concrete proof that the purported texts were obtained from the funds were for charitable family assistance. The witness evidence was based on unreliable rumors, and the devil horns were supposedly plotting how to turn this into 10 new episodes of Love and Hip Hop. The fans adored it. The courtroom was alive with reporters typing quickly, courtroom sketch artists documenting every dramatic moment, and spectators streaming live outside hoping to get even a glimpse of Jim or Chrissy walking. The judge stated that more witnesses would be heard the next day, including the possibility of Mr. X himself showing up. Mr. X was a friend who had turned into an opportunist, and everyone was waiting for him to show up and tell the truth. For Cameron to continue his petty rule, for Chrissy to break her silence, for Jim to even recover from this, and for Jim to go away silently. Jim stood slowly, pulled the hood back over his head, and walked away without saying anything. Cameron followed him, grinning mischievously, as if he had one more surprise planned. The media dubbed it the court date Judgment Day, 4 dips established, and reporters gathered, accompanied by signs that said, "Jim, please blink twice if you're okay." Another crew said Chrissy had a whole side quest, and Jim didn't even receive the side mission notification when the unverified rumor that Mr. S was traveling to New York to testify appeared on everyone's phones. The streets went mad, as if the gods were in control. According to accounts, helicopters were already with day 3 of the trial just hours away and the sun setting over New York City. The only concern on everyone's mind was what to do with the heightened airborne security and the internet, which did what it does best: make outrageous allegations and predictions. With screenshots and, of course, memes, the countdown had started, and the fans had little time to wait as they wondered if Jim Jones would lose not just his relationship, but his entire legacy. While the sun rose above Manhattan, the city felt heavier and darker, as if even the concrete knew that the controversy was going to blow up again. The tension was building as the fake specialists prepared to swarm the courthouse once more. Individuals had already gathered outside the courtroom at dawn to watch what would happen, and some individuals chose not to go to work. Influencers from other states were broadcasting live from the steps, while TikTokers were practicing there. On the 3rd day of the trial, which was formally titled The Day Mr. X Comes, television vans were surrounding the block and frightened faces were on display. An unmarked black SUV drew up, and when the door opened, a towering, pointed object, the audience screamed when a well-dressed man in a navy suit and black glasses appeared, wondering if this was finally him. Was this the mysterious Mr. X? The reporters shoved microphones at him feverishly, but he remained silent. Jim Jones was sitting in the courtroom quietly with his attorneys by his side. His hood was gone, and his face looked exposed and worn out. This was not the larger scene the judge had entered, so he simply fixed his tie and went inside. There was silence, and the last day of testimony began when Mr. X approached the stand. The spectators leaned forward, seemingly witnessing the fragments of Harlem Hustler's life come apart. A little later, Cameron entered the room wearing a varsity pair of dips, jacket, and a face that screamed, "I live for this mess." The ex-boyfriend's announcement that he had known Chrissy for years and that he was going to hear the result of a trial under oath coincided with the gasps. Claimed that their connection had once been more than just friendship, and that many years ago, after a brief but passionate affair, Chrissy became pregnant and gave birth in secret. He said he had honored her wishes but had always wanted interested in the child's life from a distance. The courtroom sat in stunned silence as Jim Jones, fearing that the truth would damage their relationship, glanced up for the first time in hours and fixed his gaze on the man who had given him the truth. After revealing what put Twitter into a tailspin, hid whispering, "I gave her everything," claimed to have signed a private legal agreement with Chrissy to keep everything quiet, including Chrissy's monthly child support payments. However, there was a document that was reportedly so secret that Jim's own attorneys were not aware of it, that it was real, and the court didn't have a copy. The moment the news spread, the throng outside exploded, and word of Chris's secret child, Mr. X, or Jim Jones's trial, quickly went worldwide. One post included an edited version of Jim Jones's Dipset chain, declaring that the documents were not verified, that Mr. X was seeking notoriety, and that what he had said was a lie. Meanwhile, back inside the defense, the words "trust issues" were used instead of diplomats. Constructed deception meant to discredit a famous marriage, but the harm had already been done, and the court of public opinion had rendered its verdict. At lunchtime, Jim departed the building, surrounded by. While this case was still formally a legal dispute, the horrifying information provided had caught the attention of surveillance cameras that captured the judge's response to the elephant in the room when proceedings resumed. While state and federal authorities were looking for Chrissy, Cameron appeared, munching a hot dog and waving to spectators as if he were walking the red carpet. There were suspicions of fraud, money laundering, and an unreported kid. A number of record companies began to discreetly re-sign their agreements with Jim sponsors as support funds started to flow like vultures, and reality TV producers debated whether to postpone or step up the following. Jim's attorney requested an emergency delay from the judge at the end of the day so that they could examine the new evidence and prepare a defense against potential criminal charges, because the season was underway and the aftermath was happening in real time. Despite the judge's announcement that the court would reconvene in 2 weeks, the headlines couldn't wait. Hip-hop legend Jim Jones declared triumph as he descended into a career crisis, and Chrissy's child bombshell may bring down the Dipset empire. Of course, social media had its own interpretation. A Twitter dispute about whether Chrissy had been playing hip-hop was triggered by a popular TikTok thread called Jim the New Tristan Thompson. For years, some followers begged for forgiveness, while others claimed that Jim was finished. After the courtroom cleared, Jim apparently waited for a short while before departing alone. Cameron supposedly passed by and laughed beneath the most spectacular courtroom drama in modern hip-hop history came to an abrupt conclusion. The aftershocks had only just begun. The next morning, the Dipset merchandise store inexplicably went offline. She eventually broke her silence by posting an enigmatic black square without a caption, which only further increased Jim's silence on social media. Jim's breath informed you that nobody knew if Jim heard it or not. Speculation over whether it was a farewell, a power move, or an apology. Cameron held a surprise Instagram live event called Petty Wins Again, where he provided his fans a summary of the whole incident while drinking tea and with background instrumentals playing. He ended the stream with a story that had been making news for weeks, and every couch detective, blogger, and podcaster had a hunch. At last, I didn't have to find out, because legal experts provided their opinions on all social platforms. Fans questioned if Chrissy would face fraud charges, if Jim would sue for emotional damages, or if Mr. X would now pursue custody. As of right now, there are no clear answers. Is Chrissy the ultimate villain, or is there more to this story? No one knows if Jim was taken by surprise or if he survived. Jim is still silent, Cam is still Cam, and the world is still riveted to the disaster. Ignored warning indications. Will Cameron ever get tired of being the king of petty spoilers? That's definitely only the beginning. There will be more courtroom drama, leaks, and receipts. I'm sure you won't want to miss it, so please leave your thoughts in the comments box below. Which side are you on? Thank you for liking this video. Please hit the subscribe button and enable alerts. We want to hear your most outrageous hypotheses in the comments below, so don't get too comfy because this story is far from over. Be the first to know when the next bombshell hits.